what's up, everybody? We're back. I'm Ryan Francis.
John Jacobs.
And you might recognize us from a video that we did a couple of years ago called the Peter Popov Experience.
And an experience it was.
It was an experience. It was a little fun.
It was. It was a good time. It was a good time.
Incredibly, that video, it's been up for a couple of years, but it's got 11,000
No, we're
views.
over 12. We're almost at 13 now.
See? That's
Thank
awesome.
you, everybody, for watching.
And thanks for the comments. The comments have been amazing on that video. So John and I have always been looking to dabble into the next best thing. It's taken a long time because these things take patience. But we finally found it. We found something else to really get into, to go investigate and kind of check out. And yeah, this is a new video about our newest experience. Bob Larson, the real exorcist.
The real exorcist.
So you may be familiar with Bob Larson. He is a YouTube phenomenon. Let's just give him the credit where credit is due.
Yeah, sure.
Millions of views. The guy.
What was his claim? 15 million, or like on his website now it actually says 17 million.
Here, I'll show you a clip of what it says right there. That's his website. That's a picture of Bob Larson right there. Yeah, he's the last exorcist. He's also known for being on the Sci-Fi show.
Oh yeah.
Here's the title of the Sci-Fi show he was on right here. But that's a big claim to fame for him as well. He's been exorcising demons from people for decades.
Literally decades. He claims to have exorcised thousands of people.
Here's a quick clip of what Bob Larson does on a daily basis.
Enjoy this. So there you go.
So
this is him right there.
So
Wow.
John and I have been watching these videos for quite a long time.
Yeah, it was quite a while. Yeah,
for months. We both knew of who Bob Larson was, and one day we got together and we were like, holy shit, check this out.
And I think for like 2 hours, we did nothing but watch his videos one Sunday afternoon.
These videos, we highly recommend that you guys go check them out. If you have an afternoon to kill, an evening, anything, they're really funny. They're amazing. They're incredible. I think that's a good description.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
They're incredible.
So John and I were just kind of like, man, this is something to get into.
I think it was at that point we decided, like, hey, let's just not stop at Popov. Let's keep going and let's investigate the next thing. So Bob Larson was actually the target for our next investigation.
Yeah, and you're looking at someone like Bob Larson, you kind of thinking to yourself, well, he does these seminars. Is he ever going to come to the Midwest? Like, where's he going to be? And I mean, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, he has to come to the Midwest because we're the most gullible idiots here. In
that we do.
We do.
I mean, we live in Ohio. So, really, we decided that we were going to see Bob Larson one way or another. We did it with Popov, and we said, you know what, we're going to keep our little investigation thing going, and we are going to see Bob Larson and see if we can get exorcised.
Yeah. All right, so I don't remember where I was exactly at the time where I discovered this amazing thing.
But you called me immediately.
Called you immediately because Bob Larson updated his tour schedule, and he's going to be stopping in Romulus, Michigan, which is about a 3.5-hour drive.
Yeah, we're in central Ohio. So.
It's like Detroit area.
Yeah.
It's essentially Detroit. It's the airport area.
Yes.
It's Romulus. So I approached John and I said, hey, he's going to be in Romulus. This is how far it is. And I remember you kind of being like, Detroit's pretty far.
Yeah, I mean, 3.5 hours, I was kind of like, eh.
And I understood that because, I mean, you're looking at wear and tear on the car. What is this really going to entail? It's open to the public. Like, is he going to do an exorcism? Like, all this crazy shit that he does on his website? What's actually going to happen at this thing? Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be a Bible stuff? Like, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's a risk. There's no information online about this stuff.
Well, that's actually when we started looking it up online to see what other people's experiences were, because we were trying to determine if it was actually worth our time to go or not. And we actually found a ton of articles from people who had went. And after reading those, we determined it was worth our time to go.
Yeah, we found an article online. There was a gentleman who had went to one of these seminars, and there were live exorcisms done right there in a hotel lobby area. So we're like, well, whatever. We're going to go ahead and give this a shot.
Yep.
We're going to go ahead and make this trip. We had the buy-in together. We said, yeah, let's make a trip of this. Did we take off work?
Well, no, we worked it out. Like we did like half days on that
so.
Friday, so we could get out of town early.
And I think that that's important to note because that's how serious we're
Right.
taking this.
We used half a vacation day to go do this.
We really wanted to go see Bob Larson. So it didn't involve a ticket. We didn't need to get a ticket or anything. It was open to the public. You didn't have to RSVP. It was just show up. Here's the time it starts. All of this stuff. On the website, they actually had an invitation if you wanted a one-on-one session with Bob Larson, you could do that. And we'll get to that here in a little bit as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that for sure. So yeah, we decided to go ahead and make the plans to go up to Detroit. Yep. So basically, the day has come for us.
We've been counting this down. We started telling people we were going, like the plans were set, like this was happening. We were going.
Now, we had discussed this, but if you guys remember from the Peter Popoff video, we went in with a plan, a disguise in a sense. I don't know if you remember my disguise for Peter Popoff, but we had a plan similar to that with Bob Larson because his seminars are a lot different from Popoff. It was more open to the public. Popoff was very private, invite only, signed waivers, things like that. And so we didn't get into costume per se, but we decided to dress nicely, and we have zero idea what it's going to be like. I want to reiterate that. We have no idea what it's going to be like, who's going to be there, anything like that. But just in case an exorcism did happen,
right,
we came up with a story.
We did, and we kept talking the whole time, like, oh man, if I'm picked, this is how it's going to be. If you're picked, this is how it's going to be. And we were dead set on getting picked. But, you know, when we went to Popoff, we didn't get picked for a faith healing. So I think in the backs of our mind, we didn't think it was going to happen. But in the front of our mind, we wanted it to happen. So through the articles and the YouTube videos, we found that he typically picks people who have troubled pasts. He stays away from medical stuff because he actually got called out on that years ago for saying people who had medical ailments were the demons, and he got in hot water for that. So he doesn't do that anymore. So Ryan and I came up with a story that we were half brothers, same mother, different fathers, and a separate relative in the family who married into the family actually sexually abused us. That's not funny, but we're laughing because that was our cover story, because we knew that Bob Larson actually does favor people who are abused in a sexual or violent way, because he can speak to that being the reason that they have demonic possession. So we thought, hell, let's just do that as our cover story, because that might give us a better chance of getting picked for the exorcism.
Right. If he comes up and asks us any questions, we actually provided that background with each other. Now, I will say this too. John did a very, very good job he actually did most of coming up with this background story than I did.
I mean, I like to be prepared.
You did. And this is where, like, I heard it and I was ready to speak it, but I didn't buy it myself.
Yeah, and
we'll talk about
We'll talk about that later, because our plan didn't happen at all. Everything was thrown out the window. There was no plan.
You need to keep watching this, because things get really amazing. Yeah. I mean, better than what we could have ever expected at this experience.
That plan did not happen in the least bit at all.
It did not happen. All right, so the day has come.
We're really excited. I don't think we slept the night before. We hung out the night before. We went over our plan. We went over our plan. We were chatting and texting at work the whole time. Constantly. Like, we were so excited to go. We really were.
Oh yeah. So we hopped in my car. We knew it was going to be a long drive. We listened to a lot of Top Gun on the way up.
Well, so we played My Mix, which is like 250 random horrible 80s, 90s, 2000 music. I subjected Ryan to, but we had a lot of fun. Now, on the way up, we worked on our plan a little bit more and just kind of refined the details so we didn't seem like we were bumbling through it. But again, that plan did not happen at all. So
I will pause you on that too, because we did have we did have plans to go over our plan.
Well,
but we got so wrapped up in the music and just having
just
fun,
road tripping and having fun.
Just having fun. And when it came down to it, we're crossing state lines into Michigan, and we still haven't. We actually really haven't talked about it yet. We haven't really talked about it. I mean,
I feel like in the beginning we did, but
right. But we had such a long trip, so it was kind of one of those. We'll get to it when we get to it. We're not even close yet.
Yeah.
And it just never really happened. So we're on our road trip. We cross the lines into Michigan. And we're hungry. I mean, we got there a little bit early, so we had time to stop and eat.
Yeah.
So we stopped at an Arby's.
Well, it was a big truck stop. It was one of those big truck stops that has like the showers and everything. Yeah. And it had Arby's attached to it, which was a delicious meal. That was the best Arby's I've ever eaten at.
Oh, it was great. We were starving, and so we had the time to get a meal, which we didn't think that we'd have. We're about an hour outside of Romulus.
Yeah.
So we stopped. So this was an opportunity that I went ahead and took. And I wanted to kind of find out what it would take for John and I to have a one-on-one with Bob Larson.
Yeah, so this is outside of the seminar. This is a private session.
Yes.
Outside of that with Bob.
So I called up, there's a number that's on his website. Here, look how many times he lists his number on the website.
It's all over
the website. Look right here. It's insane. But his number's everywhere. So I went ahead and called that number.
Yeah.
And a lady picked up. They're based in, I think it was California or Arizona. It was.
I think it's Arizona.
Yeah,
I think his like home base is Arizona.
I think so too. That's where his church is.
Yeah,
he does have a church.
He does.
So I called her and I inquired. I said, "Hey, you know what? My brother and I are traveling long distance. Yeah, because of our story.
Yeah.
And we're traveling very long distance to come and see Mr. Larson. And I was curious as to what it was going to cost for us to have a one-on-one. And I will never forget, she said, it'll be $5.99. So I didn't laugh, but I said, that's not a bad deal. For $6, we can have a one-on-one with Bob Larson. Is that for both of us? And she's like, no, $5.99, $599. And I was like,
each person.
Each person. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's a little expensive. I'm going to talk it over with my brother and see what we'll be able to do. And she said, you should book it right now, because his slots are filling up very fast. So
just like an infomercial. Call in the next 10 minutes.
She put some pressure on me, which it's not very Christian-like.
Yeah, it's a sales tactic.
You're going to have a guy, I want some one-on-one time with a spiritual leader, and you're going to put sales pressure on me for $1,200?
I mean, this already sets the tone for the kind of experience this man provides.
We now knew what we were really getting into, and we couldn't be more excited.
Oh yeah. Excitement level went up like another 20%. Like.
So we pull into this hotel.
Yep. Holiday Inn style, La Quinta Inn, Comfort
really nice.
Inn, that type of hotel.
And I remember sitting in the parking lot with you, and this is kind of how we were feeling before pop-off too. It was just kind of like, okay, it's time to get the funnies out. Yep. It's time to get serious, because
game face on.
Yeah, because this is no laugh zone. Now we're there with his people now.
Yeah,
we're there with his people, and the people that are going to be there are going to take it very seriously. Now, I will say this as well about the people. When we went to Peter Popoff, it was sad, right?
2 years later, I still feel so bad for those people.
Peter Popoff was really sad. You had people financially struggling, and they were coming to him for miracle healing on their bodies, or financial healing with their financial situation. This was a completely different thing.
Everybody was happy. Everybody was very friendly and bubbly and just so excited to be there. It was, now they were like that with Popoff too, but it didn't have the same like atmospheric feeling. Atmospheric, if that's a word.
Right. It wasn't sad. It was
positive. It was positive.
These people are here to see a show. I mean, I really felt
they are there to see an exorcism. They want to see that exorcism,
and we still didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know what to expect. We were going to walk into.
Right.
It could have been just a sales pitch, and that would have been it. So we enter, and I remember John, like you didn't come in as soon as I did. I ended up going to this buffet that I don't think was even for us, and I grabbed a cup of coffee.
Just walked right up and grabbed that coffee.
People were walking into the hotel with Bibles in hand, dressed up in their Sunday best, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hour long thing with like, it's going to be like a church service. I'm starting to kind of get that feeling that they're bringing their Bibles. So that's telling me they're going to be looking up scripture. They're going to be talking about, Bible verses and maybe some stories in the Bible. And he's going to make references to different verses. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, maybe this isn't going to be what we're looking for, but it's going to be an experience nonetheless. So we're going to go ahead and roll with it because, hey, we're here. So we're going to see Bob Larson. We've been watching him on YouTube for months now, like years actually. So you went back out to the car because this is when I had the I'm standing in line with all these people who support Bob Larson, and so I kind of wanted to meet some people. I wanted to say hey and introduce myself and kind of find out what the deal was. So I met a younger couple actually, like I want to say mid-20s. Mid to late 20s. They were really nice people. Were so nice. We enjoyed the conversation with them. And so I they asked why I was there, and I said, we had the story. So my brother and I kept it very simple. It was like, my brother and I traveled from Columbus, Ohio, to see Bob because he does some really spectacular things, and we found him on YouTube. And she's like, oh, wow, that's really great. I've been researching for a long time. I follow him, and she then mentioned that her dad was involved with what's that group called? Oh no, he was a Mason. He was a high Mason. Yeah, he's like one of the high Masons. And so she's like, he needs to see the way. I need him to her. And we, with the way that she was wording things, and it made sense later with the way that she was wording things. Her goal was to come to the seminar to get more information, to go to the school of exorcism, to exorcise her own father. Yep. Let that sink in. Let that sink in for a second. So this is just a very kind, very nice young lady who is going to a seminar to learn how to exorcise her father. Because she felt like he was possessed by demons because he was in the Masons and he was a high up-ranking Mason. Can't make it up, folks. So we had that conversation. This is important for later. Just keep that idea in your mind. So then, they opened the doors. Yeah, we stood in that line for like 10 or 15 minutes. They were running I think it was like 15 minutes late, but it wasn't too bad. So they opened the door to the conference room that we were scheduled to be booked in, and the line starts infiltrating into the conference room, and Bob Larson is standing there. Greeting every single person. Handshake, hello, thanks for coming. So the line starts to move, and that's when we notice the woman. Oh, the lady, yeah. We see the woman. Here she is. This is one of our favorite videos. This is one of our favorites. Just look at this clip.
Sacrificed him, and
that curse is broken.
That curse is broken. No! I don't want to.
Get up, Jezebel. Get up, Jezebel. Get up, Jezebel.
What do you want? What do you think you're doing here? I want to see.
So this lady, this lady is there, and this is the lady. So when we're telling all of our friends and our family members and everything what we're gonna do, they think we're crazy, and we show this specific clip to them to say, this is the pinnacle of what happens at these seminars. So everyone we know, this is the lady we've shown everyone, and we cannot believe this lady is there.
She's like a celebrity.
She is.
I mean, we've watched her on repeat so many times. And her emotions are great. Yep. I don't know what really happened in her mind while that was going on, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. That was nuts. So we see her, and we're just kind of filtering in. We shake Bob Larson's hand. I remember shaking his hand, and I said, "Thank you so much, Mr. Larson."
You said Mr. Larson.
Yeah, I said I addressed him as Mr. Larson.
It reminds me of Happy Gilmore. Remember Mr. Larson with the nail in his head?
Dude, what did did you say anything to him when we walked in, or did you just shake his hand?
I actually didn't. This is kind of where it gets into us actually dropping our characters. It started when we walked in the room. So when I shook his hand, I just smiled and said kind of like thanks, and then walked right in. It was not as engaging as Ryan's handshake was. And I think at that moment, it subliminally hit Ryan and I that maybe this isn't going to go the way we thought it was going to go. Like, we started to get that feeling like I don't think we actually know what the fuck is about to happen.
We just know that there are at this point, about 70, 80 people crammed into
somewhere around that.
a little conference room.
Less than 100, more than 50. All right, so it's about to start. The show is beginning, folks.
So I would say that there's about 15 rows of chairs,
four rows across, about 15 back, 2 aisles with a split in the middle, kind of like if you were at a wedding. If you could picture how a wedding is set up.
Yeah, and so John and I we actually got great seats. So we weren't in the first 4 rows. We were in about the 5th row,
5th or 6th, something like that.
And
on the outside, toward the aisle.
John and I were.
I'm in the aisle.
John's
Ryan's right next to me.
I'm in it, and then I'm sitting next to 2 people.
And they were really nice people too. We talked to them too.
So they were sitting next to me, and so as people are filing in, as we're looking at the room, demographics are crazy mixed. So it's young to old, lots of husband and wife couples.
Yeah.
Everyone has their Bible.
It was diverse. There was a mix of diversity.
There's lots of different ethnicities there.
Yeah.
It was unlike Popov, where Popov was very it was an older demographic.
And it was very dominant on African American too,
right?
At Popov, whereas this was a little more diverse.
This was very. It was very, very, very diverse. And so we're sitting there and we're not talking. I mean, we're soaking this all in.
Yeah.
It's kind of nerve wracking. All these people are coming in. A lot of these people know each other. Bob Larson was coming up to other people saying, "Hey, it's great to see you again." A lot of these people were regulars. Like they've come back because he recognized them, and we kind of find out why, and we'll tell you more about it in this part as to why he knows them. I'll give you a hint. It has nothing to do with the School of Exorcism. I'm just kidding. It definitely does.
It definitely does. It's all about the school.
So I remember I wanted to talk. I wanted to engage in some other people who were there, and there's a husband and wife sitting next to me. And I looked at them and said, "Hey, really glad to see you here. Do you guys know Bob Larson? You watch him on YouTube?" Stupid question, Ryan. You're an idiot, but stupid question. But that's what I asked. They said, "Yeah, we're big fans of his. Like, have you guys been to a seminar before?" I'm like, "No, we never have. I came here with my brother, and we traveled all the way from Columbus together."
No. I need to stop you there. By this point, we dropped the brother, and we were now on the friends. We dropped the brother thing.
We did. That's right.
We dropped because we started to feel like maybe this isn't going to go the way we thought. So we dropped that, and we were now friends together.
I remember explicitly saying, I said, "This is my best friend. We came here from Columbus, and we're just kind of here to see what Bob can do, because he does a lot of really amazing things." Our conversation was short and sweet, but that was definitely said. John and I definitely know each other. We definitely came here together. We're friends.
We came here from Columbus.
Everybody saw us walking together. Everybody saw us stand in line together. We're sitting next to each other. We are obviously together.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes, very important. We're there together, and we know each other well.
So this show is being run by Bob Larson himself, and that's pretty much it. There is a man, an Asian man who has a...
He's a really nice guy too.
Handheld camcorder, very nice guy, and he's a student of Bob's.
Well, he was an apprentice.
Right?
So he has taken all 3 levels of the School of Exorcism. So there's 3 levels, and each level has like 20 to 30 videos, and you pay hundreds of dollars for each level. So you go through each of the 3 levels, and then once you do all of those, then you can do an apprenticeship with him. So this man filming was doing the apprenticeship with Bob at that time.
Yep, and so he was pretty much filming. He was filming everything. On his little camcorder. Bob walks up to the front. He stands behind a podium, and he welcomes everybody. He says, "Thank you for coming. How many people have been here before?" And I want to say
more than half.
Yeah,
it was more than half.
Yeah, more than half of the room raised.
More than half, and that's not an exaggeration. It was more than half.
Yeah, he asks who hasn't been to one, and so John and I raised our hands.
But the people that raised their hand to say they hadn't been there before was definitely a minority. I would say 15 to 20% of the room was first timers. It was definitely a minority.
Right. Maybe.
So right there, we already stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, we're
already being looked at,
and it's really stressful when you put yourself in that kind of environment. It's a little stressful.
And I think at that time, when we looked around that room and saw how many hands went up for people that had been there before, and then we put our hands up as first timers, we saw how many few. I started to feel like, oh shit. I literally felt like there were like 80 eyes on me, like these are the people that don't belong.
Oh,
I already started to feel that.
The lady that we saw in the video, she turned around and looked
She
at
did.
us.
She was about 2 or 3 rows up from us, so we could see the back of her head. Yeah.
So he was very welcoming, and then he kind of got started into his I want to call it like a message. It was a mixture of a message and a sales pitch. It was kind of all in one. This is the thing that I found really interesting about Bob Larson and his message. It's actually brilliant. Coming from an individual who was raised in the Christian faith, I was raised, as a Baptist. I know the Bible very well. I know its teachings. Like that was Ryan from birth until like 21. Right, so I know this stuff, and the stuff that Bob Larson would say in this seminar part where he's kind of talking about his exorcism school and what he does was very interesting to me.
Sure.
So I wanted to take a second and kind of talk about what he was saying. He would a point that really stuck out to me was when he was talking about Baptists and Pentecostals. And
really,
and
all of the Christian denominations,
and he was
but
talking
not Catholics.
Right, he had some shit to say about Catholics.
Oh, he did.
But his whole tone was, you can go to church, and if any of you have ever gone to church before, there's always an invitation. Well, not always, but most of the time, there's an invitation at the end if you want prayed over or you want to be saved or anything like that. There's an invitation to come up to the front of the room, and some youth ministers, people will pray with you. Ministers of all types, they'll come up and pray with you and get you through that. It makes you feel really good. Bob Larson made that very clear. He's like, yeah, that's great. That's great. It makes you feel good. He's like, yeah, it gives you a little tickle. It's nice.
And he was very comical with his delivery. He was a likable guy. He was happy. He was positive. He was dropping little jokes. At one point during the seminar, which was 2 hours long, his wife called him, and he stopped, answered his phone. Hello, honey, I'm right in the middle of a seminar. And then they said a couple of words, and he hung up, and he even joked. He was like, you got to take time to talk to your wife, happy life. And everybody loved it. Like,
yeah, it was great.
He was very, very, it was like Popov talking,
right,
but not that Pentecostal type of talk from Popov. Bob Larson was almost talking to people like a real person, and then mixing in the religious and then the exorcist type undertones. But he was talking more like a layman's guy at times, because they got you to buy into what, like, right. I like this guy. He knows what's up. I like what he's saying. I'm interested in what he's saying.
And that's what I wanted to get to. When he's talking about these other denominations, he explicitly says, yeah, they give you a good feeling. They make you feel really good. But at the end of the day, do you leave church and still have a demon? He's like, they didn't exorcise you. I'm like, yeah. So you don't have a demon, so go ahead. He's like, demons are real. I can prove to you that they're real. And the church isn't doing enough to resolve this issue. And he gets loud applause.
Well, let me pause you there.
Sure.
So his whole selling point in this 2-hour seminar was that if you are a Christian, your church and your pastor is lying to you.
Yep.
You can be demonically possessed. Just because you claim you have God's shield from being saved does not mean you are saved from demonic possession. And then he read that scripture from the Bible about when Jesus went to the temple for the first time and found a man who, you can research the chapter and verse, found a man who was manifesting demons, and Jesus performed an exorcism on that man right there in the temple. So he said, based on that passage, all of your pastors are lying to you. You can be possessed. You need to come over to me. You need to buy my books, which I have like 30 on Amazon.
So many books. Here's some books that he has.
But you can't get all of the information from my books. In order to get all the information, you have to go to my school. And remember, the school is 3 levels with 20 to 30 videos each, and each level costs hundreds of dollars. I wish we saved the little flyer from it, because I don't want to quote.
Here's a screenshot of his website that's going to show you the price points. So look at the price points here. We're going to just kind of freeze on this, because I want you to look at the price points. on your screen right now. And notice how he does a bundle. I'm going to show you the bundle.
The bundle is
right
the
here.
best deal.
Yeah,
Just pay for it all up front. Today. Pay for it today. You'll get a deal.
Yeah, so don't take them individually because that's going to be a whole lot more money than just getting, the bundle.
Yeah, get the bundle.
So there it is. So there you have it. Like that was what he was selling.
So
he was selling his books, like,
Yep.
kind of as a teaser. Like, I've got some books here.
But you can't get
$15.
all of the information from the book. So then
This book, it's this big.
Oh,
It's
but
this big.
there's thick books, there's thin books. But then he says,
What's the information?
but then he says, but you may be thinking, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't want to quote him. You may be thinking that, well, I could just do the videos, but you can't get all the information from the videos. So the only way to become a licensed exorcist to then go to your church and your family and exorcise those people is to buy all the books and do the school, do the apprenticeship with him,
Yep.
get certified, then you go to your church and you go to your family. You exorcise all of them from their demons, and then you bring them to Bob Larson, and then they buy his books, they buy his school, and then they go out and do the same thing, rinse and repeat. And this is how the man makes money.
Yeah, it's actually so incredible. He's very good at it. He's a
It
great
was
salesman.
smooth like
It was
Pop-Up.
so
The
smooth.
delivery
It
was so
good.
smooth. I
Let's-
wanted to buy the books.
Oh yeah, I was about ready to get one autographed. I wanted to. And so then he pulls out these the famous cross. Look at these clips with
Oh,
this
the
cross.
giant silver cross.
Giant
It's
cross.
huge, just like this big.
He has them at the seminar. He has them here.
And they're $100.
$100.
$100. Now he
$100 donation.
Yeah, but he says they are silver. He keeps saying, he said the word silver specifically. I don't believe these crosses are actually silver, but I'm not here to debate that.
We didn't buy one. I really
wanted one. I'm not gonna lie, but I was not giving him $100.
And then he blessed them all. Everybody.
Well, no. But remember, he gave people a deal though. He said, if you buy this specific book or this amount of money of books, I forget what the amount was. I think it was around 50 or 60, something like that. Or one of the big books or something. Right. He would give you the cross. So you could buy the cross for $100, or you could buy this X book deal and get the cross for free. Now, he had, 10 or 12 crosses? Sold them all.
Oh, they were all gone.
Sold them all.
All gone.
So then everyone who got a cross walked up, and they all stood in a circle with Bob there, and he blessed every one of those crosses.
He did. He put oil on them. He prayed.
Oh, I forgot he anointed them with the oil. Yeah.
Anointed them. And so there's a whole little thing when they were up front, and he did the whole thing with the oil.
Did like a little prayer.
Did a prayer around them. And so the selling point was there. He had his books. I mean...
And he probably sold out of those books. Everybody was buying books, too.
And again, like, to reiterate, we went there as skeptics, and even we're thinking, like, dude, this guy's giving you a deal. This is a $40 book. He's saying he'll part ways with it for $15 and give you an autograph.
Give me a cross.
So it's almost like, oh, okay.
Might as well.
Might as well get one.
But we didn't. We held back. We didn't buy anything.
And so then Bob pretty much comes out, and so he's talked a lot about his sales pitch. He's talked a lot about his school, his books, his beliefs in exorcism. And exorcism is a very real thing in Bob Larson's world. And so now he says, well, we're going to take a break. We'll take about a 10, 15-minute break. Who wants to see some exorcisms?
And the tone kind of changed. People got real serious all of a sudden.
Quiet.
Got very quiet. And he even said, well, we're going to see some exorcisms tonight. And, we're going to see some manifestations. And they can all manifest in different ways. But we are going to see some manifestations. And we're going to see some exorcisms. So he leaves it on that note of, this is going to happen, and it got real. It got real.
He pretty much left it at that, and then he said, "We're going to do a Q&A when we come back, and then we're going to do some exorcisms. So don't wander off too far." And I'll say that to you guys:
don't wander off too far, because now it's what you've been waiting for.
The exorcisms, and I can't wait to share with you this.
It's going to be an incredible journey. You guys need to stick around because here it comes.
All right.
Okay, so we come back from break, and the moment we get into the room, it's quiet, and it felt heavy. It felt like you could cut the tension with a knife. everyone was looking at everyone, because now it's, well, who's the demon? Who's possessed? Who's going to manifest? Who's going to get the extra? Everybody looking all around it. I saw people's heads turning, eyes looking, and it was so uncomfortable.
It was
like, at that point, I didn't want to be there. That stuff doesn't normally bother me, but I didn't want to be there anymore.
We didn't think that this was going to happen. We thought we were going to sit through a 2-hour seminar of him selling stuff at that point, and we didn't think this part 2 was actually going to come to fruition. We thought it was going to be done, like, buy my book, peace, get out of here, like, that's it. The fact that this is happening now, I mean, I'm nervous. John's nervous.
I was nervous. So the whole time, like, I'm shifting in my chair. I'm jittering my hands, you know, because I got back problems. I got ADHD, you know, and I wasn't really participating in any of the prayers or I wasn't laughing during the seminar like everybody else. Ryan and I kind of stuck out because we were just simply there, whereas everyone else was participating. Yeah. So now that we're in this scenario, Ryan and I feel like there's even more eyes on us.
It hurts.
Because I know Bob knows. Bob looked at me the whole time during the seminar. He knows I'm not acting the same way. He knows Ryan's not acting the same way. And that means everyone around us knows that we're not acting the same way. So I'm starting to get nervous, like, oh, fuck, what happens if he, like, calls us out or something? Like... So I start to get a little shaky. I'm getting a little sweaty. I'm like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, it was real. It's real emotion that is really hard to describe. That just, it hit me like a wave. Like, I had that feeling of, what have I done? I shouldn't be here. Why did I choose to come to this? I no longer want to be here. It was that feeling. It was like, you know, when you're like 10 years old and you're getting into trouble with all your friends and maybe you go someplace that you know you shouldn't be and you're good with it until some catalyst happens and you have that wave that rushes across you and you realize, I shouldn't be here, I need to leave. That's how I started to feel when we came back from the break, because Bob started hitting like hardcore, demonic, like exorcism prayers.
So this is when, these feelings erupted when we came back from break. People were very silent. Now you're feeling a little claustrophobic. Everyone's kind of looking around. You know that the exorcisms are about to happen. So Bob Larson comes up to the front, and
his tone changed. He's not happy anymore. He's not funny. He's not happy. Serious. This shit is serious.
He stands up front, and then I can't recite this at all. I vaguely remember what happened because it was horrifying. But then he made everybody repeat after him a prayer. He said a prayer, and everybody had to repeat what he said back.
And I didn't really repeat the prayer. I just kind of I stopped looking at him because I felt so uncomfortable. I wasn't really reciting the prayer. You really weren't reciting it.
I was all in. Yeah, I was reciting.
Yeah, but you weren't like, because I remember I looked at you a couple of times. You were doing it, but you weren't as involved as everybody else. And I definitely was. I was disengaged at that point. I had disengaged because I just felt so uncomfortable.
It was awful.
Yeah,
it was awful. And so this prayer just made everything. It made it real, and it was scary.
It was
weird,
frightening,
and it really felt like. It really felt like I was in like a movie about exorcisms. Like I really felt like I was in this horrifying movie. All these crazy people, chanting this prayer back to this guy. It was about being protected from the demons. Like, he was talking about this stuff.
So I honestly, I tell everyone to this day, I felt like I was in a Silent Hill cult, like video game.
Yes.
Like I felt like I was in Silent Hill with a bunch of crazy religious extremist people who were doing like demonic quotes and stuff. Like, it was nuts. Like, and that's why I felt so uncomfortable. I was thinking, all right, what if I'm exposed? Are these people going to harm me? Are they going to let me out? Are they going to let me leave? What happens if they figure out Ryan and I don't belong? Like, what is something going, like, and I know that sounds extreme, but that's literally how we felt. And I've never really felt that way, almost trapped. I've never felt that way before, and it was hitting me. Like, I was freaking out.
No, it wasn't like speaking in tongues or anything like that.
It was just the words he was using.
Though, and I wish I could recall. I wish I was able to grab more dialogue on what he was saying.
We weren't allowed to write anything down. Crazy. We weren't allowed to record anything.
It was definitely unnerving, and myself growing up in Christian religion.
Yeah.
it was still really weird to me because I knew that this had to do with demons. So, I mean, there's still a piece of my brain where I'm thinking, like, my mom told me, like, oh, don't go dabbling with demons. Like, yeah. And I
Your mom did warn both of us before, because you called her before we left, and she warned us not to
She
go.
said, don't. And so now it's like, so now Christian Ryan's coming back in the back of my head, and he's saying, well, if demons are real, you're about to find out. And this could really, like, what? And then it's that question, what if?
What if?
Like, what if? Like, what if someone does have this demon that's trapped inside him and it needs let out? And I can tell you right now, we're about to find out.
Now, at this point, he starts talking and saying, if a demon manifests, just let it happen. Whatever, no matter what the manifestation is, no matter what it sounds like, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you do, a manifestation of a demon can be anything.
Anything.
So if it happens to you, just let it happen. Do whatever feels natural. He's starting to tell you that it's okay to act any way you want.
Any way you
At this moment, he turns to the guy with the camera and says, turn the camera off. And he repeats that again.
Yep.
This is where Ryan and I start to feel a little better because we know now we can tell the scam is happening.
It's about to go down.
Yeah.
So without missing a beat, not a beat, the woman and her husband right in front of me, or was it a father?
It was a father and a daughter, and they were Armenian.
And she was, I would say, early 30s,
if not late 20s. She was young, and he was probably in his late 40s, mid 50s.
Right. And his hair was beautiful, black and curly.
Yeah.
And she had long black hair. She was dressed very nice. They looked like models. When they walked in. And then this is all like this is. I just want to make this very clear. This is happening right in front of us.
The row right in front of us.
And this is what happens. She just starts after he gives his little speech about letting things just come out. She just starts going. I just see her. She's rocking back and forth.
And she's hyperventilating,
breathing heavy. And that's when it struck me. I lost my shit.
He did. Ryan wasn't prepared. Ryan was not prepared for this.
Didn't think this was going to actually happen. I didn't think people, like human beings, acted this way. And the only thing I could do, because the room was so quiet except for this woman hyperventilating and rocking back and forth right in front of me. And then everything just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was like, this is fucking happening.
Yeah.
And all I could do was cover my face.
Yep.
And lay down. Like, just cover my face. I was laughing hysterically.
So, Ryan
is
losing his shit.
Gone.
I'm still feeling a little fearful. So, Bob walks up to this lady, and she starts acting like this in her chair. And he gets his cross out, and he places it on her forehead. Right on her forehead.
This is happening right now.
Starts to say some words. Her dad is sitting there. He's like almost crying.
He is crying. He's crying.
Yeah.
He's bawling.
And Bob's just saying a couple of words at this point, and he says
feeling her out.
Yeah.
He's feeling her out.
And then he says,
how far is she gonna go?
And then he says, just sit there a minute. And so she just sits there then, and she's still kind of hyperventilating, but not as much before he walked up.
She's now crying.
Yeah, she starts crying.
She's crying.
And then what happened, Ryan?
Well, so she's right in front of us. So Bob, he had to wedge in between a couple of people to reach her, and then he walks back out into the aisleway. So he was walking around, coming back out into the aisle, and he gets to the aisle, and I'm calmed down a little bit more. I mean, there are tears. My face is red. There are tears in my face. And then this is when Bob approaches John, stands right in front of him. And John, what happened at that moment?
Well, he looked right at me with the most serious eyes he possibly could. And I will tell you, a wave of fear washed over me. Like, my whole body went cold. I started shaking. I didn't know. I don't know how to act. Look, I prepared for this. I wanted it to happen, but it was happening. It was happening. And he's staring right at me. And he takes out his giant cross.
Yep.
And he just slapped it right on my
Right on his forehead.
And when he did that, I just went like I just sat back in my chair and just went like this.
He froze and took it.
I froze and I took it. Because I what am I going to do? Just be like, oh, no, I'm out. Like, oh, it was all bullshit. I'm out. Like, no, we came here for this, and he's coming up to me in the audience. Like, so I almost froze in fear. Ryan is cracking his ass up. Losing his shit.
I'm trying everything. I mean, it's one of those, like, I mean, I'm
so toasted. He's dying, and I'm sitting here in fear, almost paralyzed.
I'm toasted.
So Bob looks at Ryan, and he says, are you crying, or are you laughing? And what did you say, Ryan?
I didn't know what to do, but he had the microphone right in my face. And I'm losing my shit, but now I'm being called out. Everybody's looking at us.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I said, I'm doing both. I said, I'm doing both. And then he said, do you know this guy besides you?
And what did you say, Ryan, which almost ruined the entire thing? What did you say, Ryan?
I said, I don't know. I don't know this guy.
He lied.
I lied.
He lied.
I lied.
He said he didn't know me.
I need you to understand, though, why I did this.
Well, hold on. So before you explain why you lied, what happened to the woman sitting next to you that you had been talking to all night that knew we were there together?
She gives me a dirty look. She gives me a dirty look. And then, like, she knew. And I knew that we talked to enough people.
Yeah.
Everyone saw us come in.
People knew. Everybody there who we engaged with or saw us together knew we were there together. And Ryan lied.
I lied.
Into the microphone.
Everyone knew.
Everyone knew.
I said I did not know him. And now, I'm going to explain why.
Yeah, explain why.
Obviously, I'm losing my mind. I wasn't really prepared for what was happening. And I was put on the spot, which I was not expecting. And I lied. The only thing that I could think of was to separate myself from John, because now he can have a chance at this. My chance is fucked. I didn't want to be the guy to say, yep, I know him, he's my buddy, and I'm laughing. Like, Bob knew. I don't know. I don't know what Bob knew. I don't think he knew.
He knew. I mean, he's a scam artist anyway, so he knew.
So I'm losing my shit. And then I just wanted to save face. If there was an John has already, you've been approached by Bob now. You've been touched by him.
Yeah.
He's sensing some shit with you. You guys have some shit going on together. And I wanted to separate myself from John. Bob may not have seen us come in together. Bob doesn't necessarily know. And so my whole thought process was separate myself from John and get myself away from him. So he still has a shot at this. And I think I made the right move based on my circumstances.
You did. But it was...
I messed up. I wasn't prepared.
But it could have went worse with you doing that too.
It could have went worse, but it also could have ruined everything if I told the truth.
So at this point, Bob walks from Ryan back kind of around the end of the aisleway, and this woman in the front row falls out of her chair.
She falls right out of her chair and she starts screaming. And then Bob had to because he got distracted. He had to go assist her.
So he just leaves me. I'm sitting there in fear, and he just leaves me. He goes back up to the front.
There was a little exorcism that happened at the front, but it was a stupid one. It wasn't like the ones you see on
I don't know what happened to that woman, though. I think because I was frozen in fear, I wasn't paying attention to what was happening to her. So then he approaches the Armenian girl again and has her come to the front.
She goes to the front, so shit's about to get real. Now
So we think, okay, good. Yeah, it's gonna happen to her because I don't want to do this anymore. I'm already planning how do I get the fuck out of here with no one seeing me. I'm ready to go. I don't want to be here anymore.
I'm still uncontrollably laughing. I think at this point I'm slouched in my chair, just
I want to leave. I don't want to be there anymore.
So then this is another. I want to say, I keep saying the most absurd thing happened, but another more absurd thing happens here.
I mean, it's all the same. The whole thing was patently absurd. The entire thing from beginning to end was patently absurd.
So she's still crying. Her husband or father is there up in the front as well. And he asks her this simple question. He says, why do you think that you have demons?
What did she say, Ryan? Because this is fantastic.
She says, she gets into the mic. She's got this cute little voice. She's like, well, I visited a mosque once, and the high priest played a flute in my ear, and now I think I have a demon.
Cannot make this shit up, people. You cannot make this up. That was her reason. She visited a mosque, played the flute, and the demon went in the ear. She's now possessed. So at that moment, he says, "I forget what Bob said. I don't want to even. I don't want to paraphrase him. But yeah, and so then she rolls her eyes in the back of her head and starts going. She starts like gargling. She's like gargling. And so then he places the cross on her forehead, and then he's like, "Okay, you move over here." So he moves her. I forget where he moved her. Where did he move her to?
It was kind of like off to the side a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of off to the side.
But they ended up going back to their seats.
And he walks right up to me. He says, he walked up to me, and he kind of turned to the side of me. He takes his Bible and slaps it into my chest. And I did that. I go, Now, partially that was me engaging in the dance with Bob Larson and giving him what he wants. But at the same time, he hits the fuck out of you with that Bible. He slapped that thing into me. So part of that was a real reaction, and part of that was just me pushing it a little further. Ryan, and you can see it on the video, just...
This is what happened at that moment. John took the hit right there. You can see his back brace. Here, I'll show it again. Look at this in slow motion here. Just notice that you can see one of my eyes poking out from my hand. And John has embraced the thrust of the Bible into his chest. And his face is stern. And he's there. And That
was it. So at this moment, I committed. Done. So I committed. I said, you know what? Done. He has picked me out. He has picked me out. This is why I'm here. I can't leave because I don't know what's going to happen if we try to leave. My only option is to do what I came here to do, to determine if his exorcism's claims are true or false. And the only way for me to determine that is to open myself up and give myself to Bob and play by his rules, follow his instructions, and give myself to him in order to determine if these exorcisms are real. And at that moment, I made the conscious choice to go through with it. And from that moment on, I put on the best acting career of my entire life. But was it really acting? Because I was just doing what he said. Bob controls the narrative. He tells you everything to do.
Give us an example of that.
So the first thing he does is he tells me to stand up. Right. So I stood up. He takes his little vial of olive oil out, shakes it up, puts his thumb, cross right on my forehead, anoints my forehead, does this little prayer with the Bible thing, puts the cross back on it, sits me down. Ryan, I can't even look at Ryan at this point because he's dead. He is dead to me at this point.
John is now standing.
Yeah, I'm committed, and Ryan is. I can't even look at Ryan.
I'm
because I have to focus on what I'm about to do,
and I can't even look at what's going on in front of me.
Yeah,
because I can't look. If I looked at John, if I watched that, I'm toast. I'm toast. I have lost my mind.
Yeah.
My mind is gone. I'm out. I'm down for the count. I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of people who are watching John get exercise.
Yep. So he calls me up to the front. Or no, I'm sorry. Before he calls me up, he starts asking me questions on why I think I have demons. And the first thing he asks me if I'm a Christian. And I say, no, because I wasn't raised with it. And he's like, oh. So he's immediately now like, this is my guy. Not only is this guy manifesting demons because he was acting all shifty during my 2-hour seminar, but now he's not a Christian.
Are you a Christian now?
I want to be.
Is it right for you, John?
I would hope to be, yes.
That ain't gonna do it. You're not putting the fear of God into the devil that way.
I am the one that Bob's going to exorcise because he's going to get the best bang from his buck. He's going to get to convert me, and he can already prove I was acting shifty, meaning manifesting the demons. So then he starts asking, well, what about your family? And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't really raised with it, which is true. I wasn't, you know. And he's like, well, tell me about your past. And I'm like, well, what? He's like, well, why do you think you have demons? And I said, well, actually, I have back issues. I had a spinal fusion 10 years ago. And I started to talk about my medical issues. He didn't like that. He's like, no, I'm not worried about that. Immediately shot that down. Move on. Because remember, we told you before, he got busted for all that, so he can't do medical stuff anymore. So he shot that down immediately. So right after that, he starts going for the abuse stuff, which we planned for, which we knew that's his go-to.
I was wondering what was going to happen here, because the whole time, like, John had this played out with the sexual abuse, and so I didn't know if he was going to jump back to that or what. So when that was brought up...
Yeah, so I decided to play it straight. I dropped every story, and I was
shocked.
Because here's the thing. One, I didn't want to lie about anything. So everything that I said that you see on the video and I'm telling you now, I was 100% truthful on. I did not lie about anything. I didn't embellish anything. I didn't hide anything. Again, I played by his rules. I did what he told me to do because I felt like if I was truthful in what I was doing, then that helps me accept what's happening, which means then I can accept if I'm being exorcised or not. If I lied about everything, then someone can just say, oh, well, your exorcism was a scam or a sham because you just lied about everything. You didn't believe it. You didn't open yourself up. You didn't accept it. You didn't believe it. So, of course, it didn't happen. I didn't do that. I accepted everything. I lied about nothing. I was truthful. I went through everything with him. So he starts asking, well, were you abused as a child? Did something happen to you as a child? And I'm like, no, I was good.
That threw me off when he said no.
Which is true.
I was like, where's this going to go?
I'm not doing the story. I'm being honest. I wanted to be honest and truthful, and I wanted to have the same experience that anyone else would have so that I could make the objective determination if his claim was true or false. And the only way to do that was for me to be 100% truthful. So he asked several times, and he dug and dug and dug for at least 2 or 3 minutes. Nope. And then he finally says, well, it must be ancestral then. All of this, by the way, is cut from my video. None of this is in the video. Why? Because this is how he creates the narrative of the exorcism. This is how he determines which demon you're going to have that he can cast out. So he said, what's your heritage? Well, on my birth father's side, I don't really know. I don't really have a relationship with that side of the family. My birth father died when I was 14. I wasn't close to that side of the family. So I really don't know. On my mother's side, I just know it's European and Native American, like everybody else, pretty much. So that's exactly what I said. I said, I don't know about my birth father. And on my birth mother's side, it's just European, Native American. And he goes, oh, so it must be witchcraft then. Boom! He's got it. Now he has his demon. So he asked me to come up to the front. Now you see in the video up there at the front, he asked me again if I'm a Christian, and I say no. And that little bit of, and then he asked, well, do you want to be? Look, guys, I've been a non-believer my entire life. I'm still a non-believer. Someone asking me if I want to be a Christian, look, my answer is going to be no. But I hesitated because I want to be a Christian now. I do. I really do. Because I have to be in order to have this experience. And I know Bob's going to convert me as part of the process. So again, the only way for me to legitimately determine if this is true or false, if I believe it in my heart and I accept it and become a Christian. So I did. So when he asked me, I was a little nervous because I wasn't prepared to technically become a Christian. But if I'd said no, I wouldn't have had the experience. And then again, someone could point out and say, well, you didn't accept being a Christian or you were lying. So of course it didn't happen. So I said, yes, by all means, I want to be a Christian. And I meant it. I did. I wanted to be, because again, I wanted to have that experience.
Sir, are you going to serve God or serve the devil?
I want to serve God.
All right, well, let's do it. Say, dear Jesus.
Dear Jesus.
I want to follow you.
I want to follow you.
Yes.
You are the Son of God.
You are the Son of God.
You rose from the dead.
You rose from the dead.
I will be your disciple.
I will be your disciple.
You will be my Savior.
You will be my Savior.
Right now.
Right now.
Yes.
said yes. So now begins the exorcism.
Never thought I'd see the day. But here, I think this is a good time. We're going to just play a couple of the clips, some of the things John was describing here with some audio, because I want you guys to hear what actually happened, and not just visuals that I showed you while this was playing too. So here, we'll cut to that here. Just take a look at a couple of these clips of John starting his exorcism.
Yeah.
See, I go back 10 generations.
10 generations.
But the killing of the Indians
The killing of the Indians.
and the retaliation
And the retaliation.
through murder and witchcraft.
Through murder and witchcraft.
I break those curses
I break those curses
on me and future generations.
on me and future generations.
I divide soul and spirit. I go back 10 generations. Who murdered the Indians?
All right, so what you're seeing here is he does this where he does these prayers, and then he slaps me a lot with the Bible because he's provoking the demons. And as you can see in the video, he discovers there's 2 demons in me. There's a murder demon and a witchcraft demon. The witchcraft demon is the Native American who killed white men in retaliation. The murder demon is the white men who killed the Native Americans. So it's the 2 wrongs don't make a right scenario.
He literally took John's ancestry and
crafted
a narrative on the spot, because it's not that hard.
It's not.
It's not that hard. It's like a psychic. It's
You
throw
just
spaghetti
like
at the
John
wall,
Edward or Teresa
what's gonna
Caputo
stick?
throws spaghetti at the wall. When he got a stick on the ancestral, boom, he went with it.
I will never forget his face. I will never forget it, because he was pushing John so much for the sexual misconduct, like when he was a kid. He was pushing John so much, and John's like, "Oh no, it's my back, my back." Right there. He's like, "No. You need to tell me what really happened that no one knows about."
Oh,
When you were a kid, what really happened?
Because he wants to go for that narrative.
He was really pushing for it, and then he totally changed. And he's like, "Okay, then, well, tell me about your ancestry." Like, goes from talking about John's past to let's talk about ancestry now.
If these demons came from my ancestors, whatever that evil was, those curses are broken. Where are you now, Satan? You were all over the place back there. He just broke the curses of his ancestors. I separate him from you. I like putting that sword through demons. Do I need to put that sword through you, Satan? Will it get your attention? Huh? Sword of God's Spirit. Here comes his sword again. You ready for it? Blood. Who are you? Oh, Satan. No, I want more specifics. Did you get here through the ancestors? Yes or no?
Yes.
How many generations? 10?
And John literally was just like, "Oh, well, I don't know."
And that's truthful. I don't. Like, again, I'm not lying about anything.
And he's like, "Oh." And then Bob was just like, he lit up like a light bulb. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, I know exactly what's going on with you.
Yeah.
He ran with it.
Yeah.
He ran with it and created that narrative of the witchcraft being of the Native Americans for the white man murdering their families.
Yeah.
And then murder for the white man murdering the women and children of the Native Americans.
Who's with you? What other spirits are with you? Answer me! Who's there with you besides witchcraft?
It's just me.
Just you and witchcraft. That's it? You wouldn't lie to me, would you? If you lie, I strike you with the judgment of Christ. Who's there besides murder and witchcraft? What else is there?
It's just us.
Incredible.
Yep. So what you see in those videos is he does these prayers. He tries to provoke the demon. So anytime he's provoking the demon, he's telling me, demon, come out. I want to talk to you. So I let the demon come out and talk to him.
He's seen the videos.
I mean,
look at this. Look at John talking to Bob Larson right here. Look at this.
Who murdered the Indians?
Like,
Why did you kill them?
because
Because why?
that's what I was supposed to do.
Because you wanted their land?
Yes.
And now this man suffers. Are you sorry for what you did?
Yes.
Say, God forgive me
God forgive me
for killing the Indians.
for killing the Indians.
Did you kill women and children too?
Yes.
Lord, bring peace to this memory of the one who was there and who slaughtered those women and children in the name of greed. Again, divide soul and spirit. I speak to the Indian who murdered in return and put witchcraft on this man's ancestors. Look at me. Look at me! My skin's white, you hate me? Do you?
No.
What the white man did was wrong. What you did was wrong.
See?
Yeah, I mean,
See?
but again, this is me being honest and truthful. I'm following his narrative. He's telling me to do this, so I'm doing it because I'm trying to have the experience anyone else has. And now when he slaps me in the head with the Bible,
Violence or some judgment of Christ. Look at me. Time to go, murder. So we're going to see murder. If that curse in future generations.
when I fall down, what you don't see is those dudes holding me. There were, what, 3 or 4 guys holding me. And the whole time, I'm muscling them, and I'm pulling them because I want them to work, because now I'm the demon, and I'm angry, right? He cut a lot of that out. I remember hearing in my head the guys talking behind me like, wow, this guy's strong, and oh, we need to hold him back. And anytime they said that, I would just pull him forward. And when he would hit me in the head with the Bible and I would go down, they would pick me up, but I would go dead weight and make them pull me up at least once or twice before I'd put my legs down. But what he also cut out, he shows it one time where he says, come back, John. And so I have to stop being the demon and be John again. But again, he's telling me to do it.
John, come back. Come back, John. Come back. Come on. Come on, give him a hand. He's doing great.
He's coaching me. He's telling me to do it. So I'm doing it. Now, he did that probably 3 or 4 times. He only shows it one time in the video because, again, he cuts a lot of it out. You can see where he slaps me in the back and the chest several times with the Bible. He hit me with the cross a few times. He cut that out of the video. And he keeps provoking the demon, and he's getting me to say all these people I murdered. And when I say I murdered women and children, the audience gasps, and I look at the audience, and they're like cowering in fear, and they don't know what's going on. And then he's like, "Look at me, demon!" And he like pulls my head onto him. Now you see that in the video like one time. He probably did that 5 or 6 times because I kept looking away from him, and I would get more intense each time. He'd be like, "Oh,
and what was
there
great,
you are, demon."
What was great is when John would kind of like when his eyes would wander out into the audience,
and I would look at Ryan laughing his ass off, and I gotta keep a straight face.
I'm dying, but like there would be women that were off to the side, and they'd be like, "Oh,"
because it's the demon looking at them.
Yeah, it's like the demon looking at them. So they were all like, "Oh my goodness." Oh, look at
He'd
that.
be like, "Look at me, demon!" And like his guys would pull me they would grab my body and my arms and pull me to look at Bob in the eyes again. Now this man is this close to me. We are locked in engaging in eye contact that close. Now there was one time where you can kind of see it in the video where like I kind of go like this a couple times to him, but there was one time he cut out where he was provoking the demon, and I actually got a farther lunge towards him, and they grabbed me and pulled me back. and he looked right at me. It was almost like he got off on me. He was like, "Oh, there you are." Like, he's just telling me to do this, so I'm doing it because he told me earlier, whatever happens, happens. Just let it happen. So he created the narrative. He's telling me what to do. It's his show. So I'm just giving it to him. So we go on and on and on, like in the video, and then we get towards the end, and we do the final prayer where they cast the demon out to hell.
Let's show it. Should we show it right
now?
now?
Show it.
Let's
This is where the demon finally leaves my body.
One. This is, and watch, and think about what John said about dead weight, because you see it right here.
Say, I murder.
I murder.
Come on, murder, you can do better than that. Say, I murder.
I murder.
With no more rights.
With no more rights.
Look at me, murder. Receive
Receive
God's judgment
God's judgment.
with all my kingdom.
With all my kingdom.
We go
We go.
now
Now.
to
To
the
the
pit.
pit.
Come out of the name of Jesus. Come on. Help me out now. Come on.
Praise Jesus.
That was awesome.
Now, what they did is so I hit the ground. Now, they cut a lot of that out when I'm laying on the ground. Now I don't remember what Bob said when I was laying on the ground, because all I remember is I was laying on the ground staring at the drop ceiling, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Like, I had no idea. I'm laying on the ground. The demon just left my body.
Just got exercise.
So I just like, almost like a zombie, I just like raised up. And then that's when the camera cuts to me, when you see me then sitting there, and he gets the microphone in my face. And I'm just like, I think of the only thing I could do to get that audience on my side. And again, I accepted being a Christian. You can see it in the video. I became a Christian.
Well,
So
I want to play that again real quick because he does. It's really funny.
Praise Jesus.
to say,
There he is.
praise Jesus, hallelujah! They all stand up, and just I can see
Stand
every single person in that entire audience stand up and applaud me.
I was applauding.
I became a Christian.
I was applauding, but my face was dead.
I
I couldn't even believe what I just saw. My friend
become a Christian and get exercised.
So my head, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm lost. I'm lost.
So after we do that, I give him the biggest bear hug ever, and they cut that out. They show the hug at the beginning. It's kind of a little awkward, but at the end, I just latched onto him, and they cut that out. And then he does that part where he asks, well, who did this for you? I'm like, Jesus, and they all praise again. Now, then he cuts after that. Well, there was a lot more after that. So he's just asking me questions how I'm feeling. I'm like, oh, I feel great. He's like, and he asked me questions about being a Christian. I'm like, I am so happy to be a Christian. They all cheer again, applause. And then he asks me, is your wife a Christian? Well, my wife isn't. So I said, this is exactly what I said. Again, they cut this from the video. I said, no, but when I get home, we're going to have a long conversation.
Oh.
Standing ovation with thunderous applause when I said that. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Not only did I become a Christian, which again, I did. I accepted everything. I believed everything that I said. I meant everything that I said. I followed his instructions specifically. I went through this whole thing to determine if there was actually a demon being cast out of me, and there wasn't, because I just did everything he told me to do. But again, I believed what I was doing was happening, but at the same time, it wasn't, because I was just doing what he said. And again, I think he picked me because then I could become a Christian, so he could use that as his narrative. So technically, I am now a Christian.
You are now a Christian.
I am now a
I saw
Christian.
it with my own eyes, and you
Yeah.
have to now.
Yeah. So
Yes.
after that, he kind of dismisses the event. So I go and I sit next to Ryan. So as I said before, I come back to my seat. I'm shit-eating grin on my face. Everyone's cheering for me. People are like slapping me 5 in the aisle. Like as I walk by, the atmosphere totally changed. Now it's all positive. It's happy. Everyone's in a great mood. And I sit down next to Ryan. And Ryan, what happened when I sat down next to you?
He sits down next to me. I don't want to. I mean, he's the guy who just got exercised, and he just sat down next to me. So I have to acknowledge his presence some way. And so I just remember patting him on the back, and I just kind of reached into his ear, and I said, "How you doing?" Because I couldn't really say much because I'm still losing my goddamn mind.
How are you doing? Ryan, what was my response to you?
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I didn't answer him. I said, get the fuck out of here. I was like, you need to leave now.
And
leave now.
We're quietly.
Yeah.
We're
now,
quietly having this conversation.
Yeah.
It's still quiet.
And everyone's
and
in the
Bob Larson's
room still.
talking.
And he's kind of wrapping up and everything.
Yeah. And so we're
I don't
having
want
this.
to talk over you.
No, we're having this like side conversation essentially, but it's very hushed whispers.
Yeah.
And
it's like, get the fuck out of here. Leave now.
I'm
I was like, just get up and leave. There, because nobody was leaving yet, so Ryan could easily hit the door and slip out. I'm like, get out. Just leave now. Leave now. Get out of here now. Go. Like, I keep saying. So Ryan, like, you can tell he just, like, thought about it for a second. And he literally just got up and walked right out the door.
Out.
Out.
Up. Out.
Out.
Up. Out.
Out. Right as that happened, Bob concluded the whole thing. Thanked everyone for being there. Said he'd be at this table in the back to talk and meet people and sign autographs and this and that. And then he says, John, don't go anywhere because I need to get some information from you. And I'm like, fuck, I can't leave. So everybody in that thing starts coming up and look, people were jumping on me with hugs, handshakes, telling me how proud they were and saying this is a second chance and I need to use it and, you know, how I'm feeling and congratulating me. I'm in there for like another 10 minutes and I'm shit-eating grin, shaking people's hands, saying how good I feel. I'm happy that it's happened. I feel like a different person. I feel the love. I love everybody because that was true. Again, I was being truthful because that is how I felt. And so I go up to Bob, but he's busy with a bunch of people, and I know Ryan's out in the parking lot. And at this time, I'm like, we got to exit. Like, we got to go. It's time to get the fuck out of here because it's over. We got through it. We weren't exposed, and I'm not about to get exposed. So I walk up to Bob's assistant, and I say, hey, my friend ran out of here. As you know, there's something really wrong with him. I need to go after him and figure out what's going on. He's my ride. He's my best friend. I don't know what happened to him. I'm concerned for him. I need to go after him. Bob needed some information from me, so I wrote my information down. I gave it to her. I said, will you please give this to him and thank me? And she said, yes. Right at that time, Bob freed up. I'm like, shit. So I go up to Bob real quick, and I just shake his hand, give him a quick little hug and say, thank you so much. I'm like, I have to go. My friend, I don't know what's going on with him. I need to talk to him. He's my ride. I have to go. And he just basically, in a paraphrasing way, just told me to go. And I left. And I walked out the doors, and I went to the back of the hotel, and that's when I saw Ryan standing out in front of the car. Perspective now, so I'm walking around the back of the hotel where we were parked. Not everybody, only a couple people have left. Most people are still in there. So I'm walking to the back of the hotel right when Ryan spots me.
So I'm in my car. I'm sitting in the driver's side. Car is on. Heat is on. It's time to go. It's time to go. And John opens the passenger door and hops in, and he just says, go. Get the fuck out of here. Finally. After 3.5 hours of sitting there, holding in the most inner laughs of my entire life, I exhale in abysmal laughter. Boisterous laughter. Everything. What in the fuck? I've never experienced
No.
anything like this. I'm losing my shit, and
The whole time I'm
I
telling him,
can't
I'm like,
see.
drive,
I'm
just
I'm
drive.
crying, and now everyone's starting to kind of file out, and all these people are coming out.
And Ryan's
I'm
like,
trying to
oh,
pull
let
my
me pull up the GPS. I'm like, fuck your GPS, dude. Just drive anywhere.
That's
Drive. Get on a
I'm
road
trying.
and drive. We have to get out of here now.
I'm trying to get out, and I feel like I'm going to hit somebody. John, so there's people walking in
Now
front of my
all the
car.
people are
They're all
coming out, and they're walking out
so
into the parking
John
lot.
is like, they can see you, and I'm going to look like I'm scolding you. And so he starts like trying
was
to
like-
pretend like he's scolding me, and I am dying laughing. I can't control myself. I'm crying. I can't see the road. I don't know where we're going. And then I finally realized what John was trying to say. He's like, get out of here. We'll talk about it later.
It doesn't
We'll
matter
figure it out."
what road you get on or
Figure it
what
out.
direction we go. Just drive anywhere because we'll eventually figure out where we are. Then we will GPS
So
our way back home.
we
I'm
did
like,
that.
just get on a road and drive. And we're in Romulus, Michigan. Neither of us have ever been here. So Ryan did that. He just turned on a road and just went straight. And like for 5 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, make a turn. So we get to an intersection. He just turns in a, I don't remember what direction.
We found a highway, and then
Yeah.
we just drove for I think 30 minutes
Yeah.
to get as far away
Yep.
as we could. And we found a random truck stop, and we
Yep.
stopped there. And that is
We were there for like
we
an
spent-
hour.
We spent at least an hour
Yeah.
underneath a tree.
Yeah, just sitting there. We got something to drink.
Yeah,
I wiped off the oil cross from my forehead, which was definitely extra virgin olive oil, little EVEO.
And we just talked about. We went through from beginning to end, and we talked about what happened and how we couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
And that was it. That was what
it
happened.
happened.
That was what happened.
So I became a Christian for real, and I was exorcised demon. But I will tell you, kind of summing everything up, both Ryan and I, our purpose on going there was to determine if Bob's claim was true, that he was exorcising demons. He makes claims. He has videos making claims. I reject his claim.
yeah, so,
Because
yeah,
I was
that's-
not, there was no exorcism at all. I did become a Christian for real. However, there was no exorcism. There was no demon in me. Anything I did, any behavior I had was 100% fabricated, created, and coached by him from beginning to end. There was even a timer on his laptop on a little table, and in some of those shots, you can see it. It's got big numbers on it, and once it got around that 15 to 20 minute mark was when he started wrapping up. He knew how long he had to put the show on. He had this shit timed. If you watch his videos, it's the same process over and over and over. There was no exorcism that took place. There was no demon inside of me. There was nothing that came out. Everything I did was 100% narrated by him, and all I did was follow his lead on a story that he fabricated. So I reject his claim that he is exorcising people because I went through the same experience anyone else had, and there was no exorcism that happened. I witnessed a man who is a scam artist, who is a con man, who is a piece of shit, who is taking people and turning them against their churches, their pastors, their family, and their friends to steal their money for their bullshit books in his exorcism school so that he can send them back out, do it to them, bring them into them, and then he makes more money, rinse and repeat, just like the piece of shit Peter Popoff. It's the same thing, just done in a different context. It is a scam. He's not exorcising people.
And I'd like to throw out there, just for the sake of doing it, if you are the lady that is in the video and you know who you are, and you have a different story to tell about your exorcism, click the link, hit me up. We would both like to talk to you about what
We'll
your
Skype with
experience
you.
was.
We want to
Please.
Skype with you. We
Because
want to
I
talk
wanna-
to you.
Because as two men who came into this, looking at this like it's a complete pile of horseshit, and then actually experiencing what was a complete pile of horseshit, I want to talk to somebody who has a different experience,
Yeah.
who doesn't think it's a
Who
complete
accepts
pile of
the
horseshit.
claim that they were
Right.
exorcised.
I
I
want
want them to speak to that.
we want to talk to you. So anybody who's been exorcised by Bob Larson, if you are watching this, please contact me, and John and I will hop right on
Yeah.
Skype, and we would love to have a conversation with
Absolutely.
you, because we want to know what your experience was like, what you felt, because there's so many things that come to mind with how Bob Larson works. It's hypnotism, You look at how psychics work, suggestive,
subliminal.
Right. And you see it when he's hitting you with objects. That you see that a lot, and that stuff's real. And so it'd be nice to get another take on this as well. That's another video from us. It's been a long time, so we appreciate your patience while we put this one together. But this is incredible. Down here, click the link. There is the full version of John's exorcism in the link here. So please feel free to go give that a view. That is on Bob Larson's page. So I'm just going to post that link. If it gets taken down for any reason, if he finds this video, we have it. So we'll repost it at some point. So, guys, that was fun. John, that was an incredible experience, and I really am glad that we went together to go do this.
It was completely different than the Popov experience. I'm glad we're doing this, and I'm excited to figure out what we're going to do next for our third kind of investigating people who scam religious people. So I'm not sure what our third one is, but I love doing this. I'm still in complete disbelief that not only did I become a Christian, I was exorcised. So, I mean,
leave it in the comments if you have a suggestion. If you want us to go try and get into the Church of Scientology, if you want us to go investigate the Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, I don't know how well we could do some of these things, but anything that you can think of on a level to where John and I could kind of slip in and act casually and hang out to give you a full report, please leave it in the comments, and we're happy to check it out.
We know this video was long, but there's so much detail, and I'm sure there's so much stuff that we missed. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Ryan and I respond. We will respond to your comments in our first video, which we also will have linked for the Popov video. There's tons of comments there. We respond to them. We'll respond to your comments. So we want to keep the dialogue going. We want people to be aware of these scams. We don't want to see good people taken advantage of, and we don't want to see people have their faith twisted and turned against them in order for someone else to make money. We want these people to not be duped and to spend all of their money for someone else on get-rich-quick schemes. That's why we do this, because we actually care about people, unlike the people putting on the scam.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. Please click the links below, leave a comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Have yourselves a great night.
See you.